I will say I think I know how to receive love, but what I think is really hard, and again, I'm in a little bit of a unique situation because
You are, Nick. You are.
yeah,
You're
it's
in it.
like,
Yeah.
am I
People
gonna
know
go on
you before.
Hinge?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. What, and that was my thing with matchmaking too. Is like I talked to a couple of matchmakers, and I'm like, how is this going to be any like
Any different than
surprise
him.
if you happen to like recognize me from the show? And
Right. It's
you
almost like you need a whole reality show based on you dating again so that you could get the actual normal dating experience.
seriously, because it isn't.
Hmm.
And then even when people do read, I get DMs, people asking me on dates. I get people, but in real life, but they like start a conversation. And before all of this, it would have been like, does this person interested in me, or is this
Hmm.
person talking to me because of the show? And
Right.
I met someone a few months back in real life, and it was
Mhm.
weird because it was we were at a bar. It was totally normal. She actually came up and started
Organic.
talking to me. Yeah, and then it got weird after about an hour because she said, "Let's connect on Instagram," and I was weird about it because like, how do you show that? Do you know what I mean? Like, follow me on Instagram. I have 300,000 followers and a blue check, and all of this,
Hmm.
and then it just like opens Pandora's box, right? And so I was weird about it. And I just got her, I said, let me just get your phone number instead. And then she went and
Okay.
she
Gotcha.
she went and looked on Instagram, and then she figured it out. And she's like, I thought maybe I recognized you from something, but maybe I'd seen you around, and then it clicked. Right. So that happens a lot.
Right.
But
I
it's a
bet.
weird, do I lead with it? Because
I
that could
was going to
sound
ask you that. I was going to ask, does it bother you if somebody knows that you were on the show, if they recognize you from the show? Do you feel like they instantly get a different idea of you? Or what are your thoughts if somebody does
that's
recognize you from the show?
That's a good question. And I think that there's like layers to that. If it's general public people, like it doesn't bother me at all. Like I
Hmm.
took several pictures with people at the Windy City Smokeout that I was at the other day, like I mentioned. Doesn't bother me at all.
But in dating,
In dating, well, I don't know because I haven't done it. So it's like, it's weird because what people, and I got asked this early on the show actually, and asked me anything. The guy was like, what is it like being known for your relationship? And that's it. And people, saw an hour and maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes total across,
hmm,
the shows. And they have this whole idea of like who I am and this whole perception of what I'm doing and who I am and how I show up in the world and all this stuff. And it's just not accurate. I mean, it's partially true. There were parts of that show that kind of showed parts of me. You got to see some of it, but there's
yeah,
so many other things. And like one of the hardest thing for me to really navigate after this was over was not it wasn't it was easy to not like sell out, but to not lean into these pieces of
hmm,
perception that people had from the show in a way that it like disconnected from who I truly am. And the example I'll give you
yeah,
is I'm very politically active. I am
okay,
I'm an activist. I'm in my
hmm,
neighborhood. I work on elections. I've always done this. This is a part of who I am. I was a journalist in high school and college. So like I'm very critical of the media and how I think about things and all this stuff. And when I would talk about this stuff, or I would talk about like political issues that were top of mind, which is what I do with my friends, and then I share
hmm,
it with the social media community because this is who I am, right? And
yes,
so those things, and I would get people saying, stay in your lane, reality star. You're not qualified to talk about politics. You're not qualified to say, how you, because I make a lot of my own stuff. My toothpaste in the show was the
oh, I
moment that got
remember
there.
that.
Yeah.
I
So
remember
I
that.
make that. I
Yes.
make soaps. I make condiments. I make spice, all sorts of stuff. I just
Yeah.
do this. And then I start sharing that, which is a fundamental piece of who I am, and people don't want anything to do with it.
People are like, flat no.
Yeah, yeah. And even
So
like
my
publicists were,
best advice to you would be this, right? They all only know the public version of you, right? Which is cool. Share whatever publicly you want. Just know that they only know the public version of you. There's a very few beautiful percentage that can know the private version of you. And the public can think whatever they want. It's that private small circle. That's all
Yes.
that matters.
That
That's
is
all
all
that
that
really
matters.
matters.
But then when I'm
And
out, if I'm
your person who's in alignment with you will get it. They will just get
That's
it.
exactly what my therapist says. She says you will get a
Mm-hmm.
person that doesn't care what
Mm-hmm.
people think about you as much as
Yeah.
you don't. But I
There's a
guess it's,
line in a Zach Bryan song. Oh yeah, that country you don't
oh,
like.
here we go.
But he says, a girl that doesn't mind the cameras when we kiss, right? Who doesn't focus on the cameras when we kiss? Because I'm guessing, if you kiss Zach Bryan, you're probably going to have a few cameras taking photos, whatever. And so that was like I just heard it screaming alignment. For
Yeah.
him, alignment would be a woman that doesn't mind the cameras when they kiss.
Yeah.
So alignment for you would be somebody that accepts you with your political views and your spices and your toothpaste and thinks that all of it is just fabulous because it
Yes.
all makes you so unique. And you know what? Anybody that tells you to stay in their lane just wishes that they could branch out of theirs. Anytime we get insulted, it's just it's a mirror reflection. They are holding up a mirror for whatever it is they wish they could do differently.
That is, I can't even say anything on top of that. Except, oh, I will say one thing, but no, that's
Okay.
spot on. And I actually had this thing where I would start to respond to people online that would say something that was like clearly they got triggered by something and it was about
Yeah.
them. And I'd say like, hey, I encourage you to look inside to think about why you felt the need to say this. And
Yes.
you'd be surprised how many times people will come back and be like, you know what? You're right. I was having a bad day. I saw this. I never thought you would see it, whatever that may be. And it is a projection. And one of the things that
100%.
I've learned too, and then I'll shut up, but you said this earlier, someone that thinks these things about me are fabulous. Somebody that thinks it's fabulous that I make my own toothpaste. Doesn't mean you got to use it. I'm
Right.
not forcing it, but like think
Yes.
it's cute that I do that.
Yes.
Or
They
something.
celebrate your uniqueness. Oh, honey, I've got so many idiosyncrasies to me. So many. I'm very free
We all
spirited.
do.
Very free spirited. And, the person that I'm meant to be with will never put me in a cage and will never try to put me in a box. Right?
Exactly.
And same with you and your toothpaste and your spices and your political views. Yes.
Well, and you know what's funny is like I don't even need someone to agree with my political views,
No.
but I want them to acknowledge that like I
And
put effort
respect.
into having them and being informed and put my time and effort into working on these things. And that's where I feel like I sometimes don't get that. But what I will say, and I can preach this better than I can practice it in a lot of cases, but what I think there's this saying that you've got to love someone in spite of your flaws or in spite of their flaws. You've got to
Yes.
love someone in spite of their flaws.
Well,
And
'cause
I
we all
think,
have them.
right, but I flipped the script on that. And I think you should love someone because of their flaws. I think you should love them for their nuance, love them for
I
their
totally
individuality.
agree. I
And I
totally
changed
agree.
that because I had a relationship where things would have annoyed the shit out of me. But I found when she did them, they were cute. And so that's when I was like,
That's
oh,
alignment.
yeah, that's alignment. And so I
That's
think there's
alignment right
something to
there.
that where
Yep.
if some of the things that maybe would annoy you if anyone else did them and this person, it doesn't, like mine is the
There's
hamper.
definitely something there.
Yeah.
Yours
Like
is the hamper. What's the hamper?
how can you throw it at the hamper when another 6 inches, it would have been right in the hamper? Like just throw, like that kind of stuff annoys me. Or cabinets being left open, like that kind of stuff annoys me. But then
Yes.
when certain person or people would do it, it wouldn't annoy me. I'd be like, oh, God, she's just being, like this. And I think that kind of stuff helps. You're right with the alignment. And that's what I think we all need to be a little more. Instead of having so many deal breakers, why don't we have some deal makers? Like,
oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So totally, because everybody's gonna have flaws, and I always tell people to focus on 3 buckets. Okay, there are 3 buckets, 3 lists you should have. One are your absolute musts, right? These are the traits that this person has to have, and I have everybody that works with me does these lists. Okay. And a lot of people take them on dates with them so that they don't forget and go for misalignment. But the first one is the must haves, right? Like for me, top of the list, must have a great sense of humor that's in alignment with mine, right? Must have integrity, like you were saying, right? Stability was one of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next list is desires, because I'm all about the whole manifestation thing. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
a trendy word right now, but I know how to make that happen. I
No,
love
I
it.
think I think so too.
Yes. And so that middle one, that's desires. What do you want? What do you really want in your partner, in your person? What do you want? And people don't know this.
I was
They
gonna
think
say,
it's
I
like
don't think people know
selfish.
that.
No, they don't. And they think that it's selfish to want and desire, like I should just focus on this one. And then, and then the last bucket is the no goes, the red flags, right? Yours may be different than mine. Like I would not want to date somebody that has very young children. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a point in my life, my son's 22 years old.
So you've
I
done it.
don't want, yeah. So where, somebody in their 30s might see somebody with young children or somebody that wants to have children as a bonus, where for me, that's a no go. So it's so important to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, I mean, could you imagine trying to go on a road trip, right? And you don't know the destination, and you stop at the gas station and you say, "Are we almost there yet?" Well, where are you going? I don't
Where are you
know.
going?
I don't
How
know.
much
Well, then
longer
how
till
do
we
you,
get there? No idea.
yeah, no clue, right? So you have to know where you're going if you want the roadmap to get there, right?
Those are great
So
pillars. I could go. I feel like I could go on and on and on and talk to you about this stuff. This is
I
so
love this stuff.
insightful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know I gave you a chance. You kind of asked me a question. Is there anything else you want to know, or should we tell people where they can
Sure.
find you?
I would love to know how you feel any of what I've been saying, how it applies to you, and how you think that you can use some of these things going forward as
Well, I
tools.
think I first of all I appreciate you asking me that question. I think there's some things that we talked about that were very validating and things that I've kind of thought myself already. And it's good to hear someone who's like working with people every day and has their whole, career around developing this skill set and your coaching,
Yeah.
clients and stuff like that. And to hear it kind of validated was good. But I think the way you talked about the law of attraction and how to level up your dating, I kind of, there's things that I still need to heal from this whole, reality show experience and the aftermath and all of the stuff that I do, but I feel myself leveling up as an individual. And
Mm-hmm.
then the way you put, basically like you don't want to be here, you want to be here, and then you'll attract here. Because if you're here, you're
Yes.
gonna the magnet thing, right? Like
Yes.
that really
Yes.
resonated with me, and I think I'm gonna take that with me moving forward. Is
Yay.
that
I
I
love
may not be
that.
as high as I want to be, but I am
Yes.
leveling up, and I am
Yes.
healing, and I'm doing the things that I need to do to make my
Mhm.
my own clean up my own house and make my
Yes.
own relationships stronger and boundaries, do these things even better. And I will say, and some of the people that have asked me out over, especially people I haven't known, like in DMs or whatever, I have been able to spot some of those non-negotiables. And hearing you
Yes.
say like
Good
you have to have those
job.
non-negotiables,
Yes.
I'm going to go write those down because I
Good. Yes.
there was
I
one
love
in
that.
particular, one young lady that I just I knew we would have a great time. I knew we would have a really fun summer, but then I feel like
Mhm.
it would
That's it.
reveal itself that the compatibility wouldn't be there because of several other things in terms
Yeah. So why
of
waste your summer?
non-negotiable. So I said no, thank you. And
Yes. Good job.
you know,
And you put up a boundary too at the same time.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to write those down, and then
Yeah.
I think I'm so uneasy and uncomfortable with the last 3 years of my life, and
Mhm.
since the show and my
Mhm.
relationship and ending the way that it did and all of that stuff, I'm uncomfortable. And what became very clear to me in this conversation here that hasn't come clear to me before is that I'm uncomfortable because I feel like I'm fighting not just a normal building a relationship or finding someone or meeting someone the right way, but I feel like I'm fighting a narrative about me
Yes.
that isn't necessarily accurate and is at the very, best case scenario, even if you want to say some of it's accurate, it is not fully representative of who I am. And I have
Mhm.
never thought of the fact that I'm actually fighting that narrative, that I'm not fighting like insecurity. I'm insecure about fighting that narrative. And so I need to like
Yes.
stop doing that and put myself out there
And just
and
know
figure
that
out
that's
how.
just part of your story. It's been part of your journey, kind of as part
Uh,
of what makes you you, you know? And
it
that's
is.
beautiful. It's beautiful. There are places that I've been in my life and journeys that I've taken that people have judged me for time and time again. And they judge you in a way that is completely incorrect. But
Yeah.
that's okay because now I know exactly who I am. And what I know is if you do take the time to get to know me, you will judge me in a way where all you can do is love me.